Right now, I'm too embarrassed to show my face. My hair looks awful. I don't feel good. I have rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's disease, fibromyalgia, and numerous hangnails. Anyway, I have a lot of pain and suffering. And I believe that God has spared my life many times. I'm going to give a true story. I'm going to give accounting of each step of my life where God protected me. It's a true story, honest to God's true story, and I will give it in weekly segments. And it'll be Saturdays with Cheryl. That's my name, my first name. I go by Zelda on the internet. And here's my husband, Larry. He's suffered oral cancer. He's had a real hard time with his health. But he's Motorola's top systems engineer, and he's still working. He doesn't want to retire. And I do artwork. These are some of my artwork. And my paintings, watercolor paintings. This is poppies. These are studies of other people's paintings. This one is my original painting. I'm proud of this. This is my great-grandmother's face. And my rendition of the roses, the old-fashioned roses. And my poinsettia that I use at Christmas. It's falling down in the thing. Hold on. And my rooster painting. I did that. My husband is also, he's an artist, but he does portraits. This is his 7th grade picture, or the picture that he drew on chalk when he was in the 7th grade. He used to work for a studio recreating old photos. And boy, he was good. And when he was in the submarines, he would paint the pictures of the members there in his submarine. I think there was 200 men aboard the submarine, and they would spend their money gambling, playing cards and stuff, and my husband would charge them for drawing their girlfriend's portrait. So he made several $1,000s while he was aboard the Henry L. Stinson, a nuclear fast attack submarine that is now razors. We're probably shaving with it now. So he was in Holy Loch, Scotland, and he came home on leave, and I had just had a baby. My baby was 1 week old, and I lied to the owner of Winchell's, and I told her that, no, 2 weeks old. My son was 2 weeks old. Told him he was 2 months old, and I needed to work. I did not want to be on welfare. I had no place to go, and I couldn't sleep in my car. My folks just allowed me to stay there just for a few nights. They were pretty upset that I had an illegitimate baby. But we'd lost our home in a flood, and my parents told me I was no longer welcome to live at home. Hold on. Anyway, we lost our home in a flood, February 1969. There was nothing left. A 20-foot wall of mud came and knocked our house right off the foundation. Some of my bedroom furniture, which was white French provincial with gold trim, my mom's sister's husband had felt sorry for me, and he fixed up that bedroom set for me. So it was a pretty beautiful bedroom set, even though we moved all the time. By the time I finished college, well, basically just didn't really get a degree in anything, but I did go to college for 2.5 years. I got a part of a geology degree, but anyway, head on with a drunk driver ended that. But we live over the edge of the Oregon. Yes, it's Boring. And right on the other side of the trees is the actual town of Boring. And right there is where the cougar was killing the goats, and three turkeys and 2 goats. So we called Fish and Game, and they gave us permission, or not us, but the property owners, permission to dispatch, get rid of the cougar. We've had 2-3 other cougars now. So the Multnomah fire in the gorge pushed all the wildlife south because they couldn't cross the river there, the Columbia River. And so now everybody's having problems with too much wildlife after they lost their habitat. In a couple of weeks, this will be full of beautiful water lilies. They only open in the sunlight. You can't even put artificial light on them. They won't stay open, they'll close. I grew up in the dumpiest homes that you could ever imagine. So I feel like a princess that we have a beautiful home and so much. I furnished it with Craigslist finds because we don't do debt. So we're penny pinchers. But anyway, you can pay your house off if you really try hard. So this is my piano, and there's my music award that I got at the Federation of Music. I played before the judge and I freaked out. But I didn't run and I didn't cry, so I got 4.5 points out of 5 points. I should have gotten 5 points, but I was too freaked out. She was nice. There's a quail. She was nice and didn't give me a worse mark, but I had my music ready to perfection, but I just got too nervous, and just about every single one of the players lost their nerve and lost their place. So they said it's from stage fright. It's for real, and most of these kids had 8-9 years worth of lessons. So I'm a first-year student, but my husband said I played better than all of them. But anyway, hey Binky, my old Shih Tzu. Anyway, I'm going to give a weekly accounting of my life, starting out about when my parents got married. My father was not very nice. He hated me. He blamed me. Took off when my mom was 3 months pregnant. And my mom was all alone when she had me. And she lived with her parents on the dairy in Artesia Boulevard. My grandparents were dairy owners. They were Mexican. My grandpa, Moses Hernandez Sr., was born in Texas. Big, tall, handsome, very handsome, hardworking man. And my grandmother was beautiful. She was a beauty queen when she was in Oxnard as a young girl. She was beautiful. My other grandparents was my dad's father. Frank was a drunk, horrible drunk, but he worked in the Panama Canal. He was hardworking. He always put in a garden, but he was always drunk. And my grandmother was 30 years younger than Frank. And my grandmother had prostituted herself for groceries several times. So my dad hated her for that. He hated her. And when she died, he went to her house and was trying to clean out her pocketbooks and take out her money, what was left. And then he had stolen the papers and tried to have the deed to my grandparents' house put in his name. He didn't even go to the funeral. So that's the kind of things he did. My grandma Evelyn had long red hair. She didn't have a tooth in her head. And her favorite song was, "Oh, she's got freckles on her butt. She's pretty." I love my grandma Evelyn. She was so precious to me. If my dad started beating me, my grandma would say, "Bob, I'm going to knock your blankety-blank head off if you don't stop torturing that little girl. Why are you always beating that girl?" So I always felt protected. And she saved my life when I put a bobby pin into electrical socket and it burned me. She came and kicked me off because I was hanging on to it for some reason, and I burned my fingers. What a ding-dong. Here I was 5 years old. I stole a pack of cigarettes. Me and my Aunt Donna, she was 1 hour younger than me, so I always put it over her that I was the older one, even though it was just an hour. And she could be older than me because she was born in Tyner, Indiana on January 15, shortly after midnight. And I was born on January 14 in Torrance, California, 1952. And I was born at 10:51, so just an hour and something apart. But I can't think well enough. I'm still battling anemia. I'm up to a 9. I got down to a 7 a couple weeks ago. I've been as low as 5.1. I had an artervenous malformation that nearly killed me. So I'm going to be telling a little bit about my life. It's kind of an autobiography. I am writing a book right now about how the Lord kept me safe, and I had these horrendous things happen. You would not believe that I am still alive, that I lived through all of these, like the serial killer that tried to break into my house. And then when I was 14, I was kidnapped, drugged, and raped by a 45-year-old man. My parents had never met him, allowed him to take me for 2 nights. He took me up into the hills. He drugged me, and he took me home, a very broken little girl. And we moved to Loma Linda shortly after that. My mom got her degree in nursing. She graduated cum laude. She was very smart. My dad always called her a stupid Mexican. So she had to prove that she was not a stupid Mexican. So I'm proud that my mom did go to nursing school when she was in her mid-30s. Her parents bought her a brand new Plymouth Fury, 63 Plymouth Fury, turquoise, so she could drive back and forth. But then she ended up moving to Sacramento, 100 miles from home, and my sisters stayed in a family from church, the Evans, and they left me alone on that 10 acres with Bob, and he was gone most of the time. I hitchhiked into town at 2 o'clock in the morning one time. I was so angry because there was no food, no electricity, no radio, no phone, no cell phone, I didn't even have a laptop. And this was 1963. So anyway, I went outside the house and I put my thumb out and I hitchhiked into town toward the tavern where my dad was gambling, and I walked in. And when I was 14 and a half, I went to an older gal's party, and there were some Airforce men from Beale Air Force Base, and one guy took a liking to me. He was drunk, and he scared me. So when he went to the bathroom, I took his keys, and I stole his VW. I'd been driving my dad. I knew how to drive. I'd been driving for several years because he broke his leg really bad, and he had to have surgery on it several times. So I would drive my dad because his right foot was broken, so he couldn't drive. So that's how I learned to drive, but I didn't know how to drive a Volkswagen stick. So I ended up driving a couple of miles, and then I ditched it into some bushes, and I left my purse in it. And I went home the next day, and my dad was mowing the lawn. He says, your boyfriend's wife left your purse, dropped off your purse. Oh my word. I got the butt beating of my life, but I think I deserved it. But I was really a good girl. I just didn't have any proper direction. I didn't have parents who were guiding me. They just free-ranged us. I went to a different school every year, and by the time I was finished with college, I went to 20 different schools. But during grade school, I think I added up 11 or 12 different schools that I went to, and I dropped out of grade school almost at the end of 10th grade. I was pregnant. Our home had been destroyed by the flood of 1969. My parents told me that I wasn't welcome to live at home because I was the cause of the flood. because I had a satanic poster in my bedroom wall. It was nothing more than a whimsical flower with the word groovy, and my mom thought that was satanic. So I was locked out of the house. I had no place to go. After they had gotten a 2-bedroom apartment, furniture for my sisters, and I wasn't allowed to sleep in their room because I was a bad girl. And they locked me out of the house. I had nowhere to go.